Why do you expect me to have knowledge of something like that?
Well, because you attacked me personally for suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein had ties to Mossad, just as like a man and a father and a Christian. How could you resist saying, like, were you on Pedo Island with Jeffrey Epstein? Well, there is a charged child molester.
But I'm saying, if you are very involved in the details of this,
I'm not.
And you think it's the U.S. government that's hiding and shielding somebody, then bring it up to the people that
I don't think that. I know it.
Welcome back, folks, and let's dive into this video right away. It's a heated confrontation between Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee over Mike Huckabee's meeting with convicted spy Jonathan Pollard. It spiraled into a wider clash over loyalty, U.S. aid to Israel, abortion hypocrisy, national debt, and foreign influence. Now, the three figures that are key in this, one is Tucker Carlson, who is pressing hard, asking uncomfortable questions. Mike Huckabee, he's defending his meeting and doubling down. And then Jonathan Pollard, who is the convicted spying on the U.S. for Israel. Now, don't forget, there's also political donors like the Aldelsons brought in as symbols of influence. But by the end of this exchange, one thing is clear. Tucker comes off as the aggressor. Mike Huckabee looks defensive and evasive, like usual. Whether you agree with Tucker or not, he's the one throwing punches. Huckabee, he is absorbing them. But let's break it down with zero filter. Let's roll the tape.
Tucker Carlson traveled to Israel, which is, of course, not without risk, to interview the U.S. ambassador to Israel. And of course, that's Mike Huckabee. And it was a wide-ranging conversation/debate about various issues tied to Israel. As you just saw from that video, Cenk, they did touch the topic of Epstein and his connection to Mossad, which we'll get to in just a minute. But what I was really impressed by was the fact that Tucker asked him everything. I mean, he asked Huckabee about his meeting with Jonathan Pollard, a well-known traitor to the United States who sold our secrets to the Israelis. And the Israelis then in turn sold our secrets to the Soviets, who were our obvious enemies at the time. Just an incredible interview, and I can't wait to show you the clips. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to get straight to the clips because you'll see Huckabee also talks about that Israel should have the entire Middle East. And of course, we should pay for it. All right. Let's do it.
He does indeed say that, so stick around for that. But first, let's get to the part of the conversation where they discuss Jonathan Pollard. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with this figure, he's the guy who used to work for the US CIA. He sold US secrets to Israel, and then Israel then sold those secrets to the Soviet Union. Trump allowed the scumbag to return to Israel, cut his sentence short. To be fair, he did serve 30 years in prison, but as I've said on this show before, as a traitor to our country, I think that the punishment should have been much harder than prison time. And since he was encouraged, since he's gone back to Israel, he has encouraged other Jewish Americans to spy on our country on behalf of Israel. Now, Huckabee claims that the clandestine meeting that he had with this traitor wasn't really that big of a deal, right? He claims it wasn't even a secret because there's so much surveillance at the US Embassy. Not buying it. The White House didn't know anything about it. At least that's what they allege. Now here's Tucker Carlson confronting Huckabee about this meeting with traitor Jonathan Pollard.
So this was the most profound betrayal of the United States in my lifetime. Why advocate for that guy's release before he serves his full sentence?
Let's remember it was President Trump who probably facilitated his departure. And I'm certainly supportive of President Trump. I think you are. And
Pollard's not. He called him a madman after your meeting.
That's why I say Pollard is not, for me, the real issue. It was the fact that he did something that was despicable. I'm not denying that. You make it sound like I'm hosting a meeting. I simply met with him. I meet with people all the time.
Some can just walk in without a...
No, they have to have an appointment. Of course they do.
Oh, so it is hosting him then, I think.
Well, I don't know if it was hosting, but it was certainly, he was able to come to the U.S. Embassy to have a meeting at his request. I did. And frankly, I don't regret it.
The central accusation is simple. Why meet with a convicted spy who betrayed the United States? Tucker frames it so well, and he says it's the most profound betrayal of his lifetime. Huckabee's defense? I simply meet with people all the time. I simply met with them. That's not an explanation. That's a dodge. Here's the problem. Huckabee tries to minimize the optics, but you don't casually meet with somebody convicted of espionage against your own country, especially inside the U.S. Embassy. Then he says he doesn't regret it. Really? That's where this explodes, because regret is the bare minimum expectation when the topic is treason. Instead, Huckabee shrugs it off. That's what makes this segment so combustible. You know, saying, frankly, I don't regret it, man, that just makes, you got to hang with that for a second. That's the moment the audience feels the weight of it. No regret, no apology, just political calculus.
I've met with a lot of people over the course of the time I've been here, and we'll meet with a lot more. That's it.
Huckabee doesn't regret it. Huckabee doesn't regret taking a meeting with a well-known traitor to the United States, who, by the way, has also suggested that Israel threatened the US with its nukes if we refuse to give them what they want. And so that's who Mike Huckabee is. I would argue that the willingness to meet with Pollard and his lack of remorse about it is a form of being a traitor as well. But
yeah, well,
it's amazing to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I'm going to get to the most important question about Pollard and Huckabee in a second. But first, Pollard said, hey, all Jewish Americans should betray America in favor of Israel. Nothing endangers Jewish Americans more than a comment like that. But always to serve Israel, not to serve Jewish Americans, but to serve Israel. So secondly, you know who flew Jonathan Pollard back in a private jet to say, great job for betraying America? The Adelsons did. The #1 donors to Donald Trump. They've given him over $300 million, and they think Jonathan Pollard is a hero. Obviously, he's not a hero to America. He's a hero to Israel, and the Adelsons serve Israel. They bribe our politicians legally here in America to make sure that they also serve Israel. And you could tell, I mean, there's nothing more spectacular than, I'm gonna give you a private jet to fly you back in class for betraying America, okay? So that's who controls this government. That's why guys like Huckabee do what they do. It's not complicated. The only reason that everybody in the country doesn't know that is because mainstream media's job is not to cover the news, but to cover up the news. That's why they never tell you these unbelievable brazen facts. So was it a secret meeting? Well, he didn't tell the White House or the CIA. The CIA kind of flipped out over it, which was nice to see, because apparently there's still some Americans inside the CIA. And so, but the most important question, Anna, is why? Why did you meet with Jonathan Pollard? Because what could you possibly get out of that meeting other than, I mean, if I was in a meeting with him, I would have some choice words for him. I mean, the only reason I can imagine is Mike Huckabee was asking for tips on how to betray America.
I mean, honestly, obviously he didn't disclose any details about what they discussed. He simply said that Pollard wanted to come in and thank him because he was so polite and nice to him after Pollard's wife passed away. Look, they're laughing in our faces, and every single American should be furious and insulted by this. And in fact, this part of the conversation really stood out to me because if you look at the quality of life for Americans versus the quality of life for Israelis, honestly, it's night and day, especially when it comes to like various social programs that they get to enjoy that we don't have here in the US. And at the same time, we're the ones who pay for their wars. We give them nearly $4 billion a year. Every time they get involved in some sort of conflict or genocide, we fund that on top of the nearly $4 billion a year. So keep that in mind as you hear this part of their exchange.
Over, say, the last 20 years, America's not gotten richer or freer at all. And I come to Israel and the infrastructure, we're flying in, and I said to my buddy, I was like, man, first of all, it looks great. I love the agriculture in Israel because it's beautiful. I love green. I love plants.
I remember when it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
First time I came in 53 years ago.
It's great.
It did not look like that.
It's great. Looks a lot nicer than our country. And it has higher standard of living. It has nicer roads than the United States. And so it's like, okay, why are we sending all this money to a country that has a higher standard of living than ours?
I don't know that they have a higher standard of living.
They do, actually. They have free health care. They also have free abortion. Are you okay with that?
I personally don't like that.
Why would we be subsidizing? Why would we send any money?
We're not.
Why would we send any money to a country that provides free abortion?
Now we pivot to economics. Tucker argues Israel has better infrastructure, healthcare, and social benefits. Huckabee claims USAID doesn't pay for those programs. It funds military assistance. Really? That's the crux. That's such crap. If you subside one part of the budget, you free up money elsewhere. That's basic economics 101. Huckabee dodges again by narrowing the scope to military funding only. This is where the abortion hypocrisy gets exposed. Huckabee built a career on abortion being the ultimate moral line. Yet when asked why US dollars go to a country that permits abortion, he shrugs it off. That's contradiction and political TNT. Why don't we send any money to a country that provides free abortion? Well, because this is the ideological trap. If abortion is the ultimate evil domestically, why is it negotiable internationally? That's the kind of contradiction that keeps viewers glued.
Because the money that we send does not pay for health care, does not pay for abortion, it pays for
It's all
military
fungible.
things.
It's like if they don't spend it on this, they'll spend it on
But
that.
they do spend it on that, and then we get many more times back in the return on the investment.
Let me get this out of the way. I fully believe in the right to choose, but at the same time, these are two conservatives, allegedly, right? Huckabee claims to be one, and they claim to not want to fund abortions. And Tucker Carlson is absolutely correct. Money is fungible. So if we're paying for their war efforts, their genocides, their atrocities, obviously that frees up money for them to spend on other things. In the meantime, Americans are drowning in debt. We are suffering without the same benefits that they get to enjoy, like paid family leave, for instance. Universal health care is another example. But what's amazing to me, Cenk, is I remember Huckabee being one of those deficit hawk Republicans, right? These days, I don't really hear much from Republicans when it comes to our national debt, which I'm actually genuinely scared of. Like, I'm worried about the future of this country because we're already spending $1 trillion a year simply servicing the massive amount of debt that we're in, just paying the interest on that debt. But what are your thoughts on that exchange? Because I love the fact that he did that juxtaposition between our quality of life versus the quality of life for Israelis.
Yeah, so let me point out those two hypocrisies. So first off, Mike Huckabee's been saying his entire career, you have to vote against Democrats on abortion alone. So if somebody is pro-choice, they're murdering babies. Then Tucker asks him, well, why are we sending hundreds of billions of dollars to a country that allows abortion? And he's like, yeah, that's okay, it's Israel. Okay, all right, well and then they're gonna talk later about killing kids, and Huckabee's gonna say that it's okay to kill kids, pro-life guy. Israel killed 20,000 kids in Gaza. Huckabee's like, oh, who cares about the kids? Like they're making it so obvious. They're almost like smearing it in our face. Like, what are you gonna do about it, huh? I work for Israel. I'm Israel's ambassador. I'm not the American ambassador. Then on standard of living, so well, we're not paying for their health care. Yeah, but when you give them $330 billion, that frees up $330 billion. That's why they have universal health care. We don't. They have paid family leave. We don't. They have free college. We don't. And Netanyahu just a day or two ago gave a speech bragging about, until recently, Israel's average income was $17,000. Now it's $63,000. And where did that money come from? It came from us. They're just literally robbing us, giving it to Israel, and then going, oh, no, it makes sense because they're a special ally. So they could break all the rules, they could break international law, they could break a pro-choice, pro-life, no one, they could commit a genocide, they could attack all their, nothing matters. The only thing that matters is shut up and give all of your money to Israel. And if you complain about all your money being sent to Israel, you're an anti-Semite. So that's who Mike Huckabee is, traitor, loser, slave to Israel. But let's keep going.
In fact, I have to just point out something he said during a recent interview with Fox Business, because during this exchange with one of their anchors, the anchor asked, should Israel be expected to even pay 1 penny to rebuild Gaza? Now, here's the context you need to know. Trump just said that we're gonna spend, as Americans, $10 billion on rebuilding Gaza, okay? Here's what Huckabee said in response to the Fox Business anchor. Absolutely not, absolutely not.
Then it escalates. Huckabee says Israel shouldn't pay to rebuild Gaza, and suggesting reparations to Israel instead becomes the emotional crescendo. The script goes full attack mode, labeling him a traitor and worse. Here's the reality. Once the language shifts to dehumanization and extreme analogies, the argument loses high moral ground. Calling someone a traitor because of foreign policy positions is powerful, but it's also political weaponizing language. And once you use that word, there's no middle ground. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Huckabee says. That repetition is the flashpoint. That's where viewers decide whether Huckabee is standing firm or abandoning American interests.
And I'll tell you, if anything, there ought to be reparations to Israel for the extraordinary fight they have had to conduct to get their hostages back. He is a traitor to the country, period. That's all you need to know.
And by the way, if you're a good Christian, he's also a terrible traitor to your religion. I mean, here's this guy saying, oh, they just committed a genocide and murdered 20,000 babies, over 80,000 people at a bare minimum. They're planning, as you're about to see, they're planning to do it again and again and again. And he says, yeah, we should be paying them for committing the genocide. Hey, congratulations, Mike Huckabee, you got your wish. We did pay for that genocide. We paid for it completely. And now they're saying, oh, now the places we utterly destroyed, America should clean it up. America should not only clean up Gaza, but give Israel more money for destroying Gaza. I mean, what a pathetic servant. What a servile little disgusting, barely human person.
And there you have it, folks. This isn't just about a meeting. It's about loyalty, money, ideology, and selective morality. The script thrives on exposing contradictions. 1, pro-life until it's foreign policy. 2, deficit hawk until it's foreign aid. And 3, patriotism until it's politically inconvenient. Whether you agree or not, the tension is undeniable. And that is what keeps people watching. And as always, stay vigilant, patriots. Stay vigilant.